Hello again. The Bujinkan is mainly a taijutsu-centric martial art, which means that most of our training involves unarmed responses to a wide range of attacks. However, we do have in the Kukishin and Togakure-ryus a variety of weapons that we also study. Today, I'd like to share one of those weapons. This is a wakizashi. This particular wakizashi is from the late Muromachi period, which means it would be about the middle 1500s, thereabouts. As you can see, it's a fairly straight short sword. And as such, it was used rather specifically against close-in fighting against a fellow wearing Yoroi, similar to my friend here. The targets for this particular weapon would have been going in at the mempo, going through the eye socket or in the mouth, or you can lift up the shikoro here and go into the ear or the side of the neck. Here we have a nodowa, which also lifts up, and you have the front of the throat. A very popular target, once the opponent was laying down on his back or on his stomach, was to go in here under the kote, into the ribs or into the brachial plexus, where there's a number, there's an artery and other things that were cut. Also, down here, the haidate would have been lifted and the sword would have been thrust into the groin or into the artery at the top of the thigh. That's how this wakizashi was used at that time period. So this wakizashi was used in the Sengoku Jidai, the Warring States period, and then it was retired and became part of the formal wear of the samurai, as they, instead of being on the battlefield, they became administrators of the government in Japan. So if we set this down and we go back to the saya, this particular saya is from the actual Edo Jidai, or the period of the shogun's rule over Japan. So it dates from about the middle 1700s. And you'll notice there is what's popularly called a kazuka in the kazuka bitsu opening on this saya. Technically, however, this kazuka is only the name at the end. The whole knife was called a kogatana. And the kogatana was essentially like a utility knife, or in modern times what we would call a pen knife, and was used to open things, to just anything that you would need a little pocket knife for. That's what this was used for. It was not particularly useful for throwing, however, because the blade is only held into the kazuka end, the kazuka suka actually, by friction. So it wasn't the best tool for throwing, but over time what was developed was a solid state knife, utility knife. In other words, there would not be a separation between the kazuka and the blade itself. This was called a tamazuka kogatana. And as such, this was thrown. And it is recorded that samurai would practice throwing this at targets when they were bored or had time on their hands. So this particular weapon was utilized for that. Over the last several years, Hatsumi Sensei has been requesting that the senior students purchase these kind of weapons, real ones, to study and to learn from how they've influenced the kata in the Bujinkan, rather than as a collector. He said that it was important that we think of ourselves as anthropologists of Budo. So I hope this was of some value to you, and we'll see you next time.